What is a hater? A nobody, an enemy, an insignificant individual with an invalid opinion? I think it's none of those things. The vast majority of people, when they talk about their haters, are really just referring to people that don't share their worldview, opinion, or ideology. It is my experience of humanity that very few people have people that hate them. Hate is a strong word and an even stronger intent. Hate is the burning desire to watch somebody collapse under the weight of their own ignorance and misaligned actions. Hate is something we all feel to some degree, but it is rare that we feel genuine hatred towards an individual or even an idea. In the age of social media and information overload, hate is a dangerously misused and ill-defined word. It is my estimation that the word hate has become almost a replacement for the word alien. It is a term used to radicalize people's thoughts and force people to take sides. It is a word that has become a weapon of choice for groups who talk about equality but act in a totalitarian fashion. Hater is the moniker such groups attempt to pin on the chest of anybody who opposes or questions their ideology or intent. It seems the term hater is applied to swathes of people, despite hate being a very individual emotion. Hate is, to me at least, a term people use far too loosely and easily. Screw all the haters, you hear them cry. The real question is, why? Why would you want to dismiss the thoughts, feelings and opinions and the worldview of another individual? What is there to learn from that? Sure, denial of those things may teach you something about yourself, but it is unlikely that you'll like what you've learned. I can say that with confidence because I've experienced it myself. I've shut out other people's insights, opinions, and worldviews specifically so that I don't have to question my own. What this taught me about myself is that I can easily choose ignorance as a path, and perhaps more dangerously so, that I can justify it to myself in such a way that I really start to believe it. There is danger in believing you're right. A great deal of danger. To confirm this, all you have to do is look into the world at people who others cannot say no to. Do they retain a healthy sense of themselves, or do they just stagnate and become a demented caricature of who they used to be? Look at Hitler. People could not say no to him and he lost his mind. Stalin, the same thing happened there. Mao too. If you look into the business world, you will see plenty of people that are surrounded by people that cannot say no to them. While this may bolster their ego, it does nothing to broaden the scope of their worldview, nor does it facilitate the growth in the individual or the group attached to said individual. You only have to stop and look for a moment to see the negative impact that has on that individual's entire world. But you best not disagree with them, otherwise you just become another hater, right? Do people hate you? If so, if so, why? Someone having different ideas does not constitute hatred. On the contrary, it should facilitate the meeting of minds, a healthy debate and growth for everybody involved. Not just that, do they think that their situation would be vastly improved if you were dead? In 999 times out of 1,000, the answer to those questions is no. When a well-meaning friend or associate tells you to ignore the haters, what are they really saying? Are they telling you that you should charge on despite being blinded by ignorance? Or is that just how you interpret their words. Precision of speech is essential to effective communication, but a great many people fail to properly articulate their thoughts, feelings, and opinions, which then makes it next to impossible to take what they really meant from their words. People that share their observations with you, especially the negative, are people you need in your world. These people keep you honest and enable your growth. Just because their viewpoint differs from yours does not invalidate what they have to say. In fact, it makes what they have to say all the more valuable to you. Contrasting perspectives and opinions shine a light on your own, enabling you to properly organize your thoughts and refine your worldview. You don't have haters, you have helpers. This remains true when the other person deliberately tries to bait you into getting emotional. Life is a game of give and take. It is, in a sense, a transactional affair. When you have a discussion with another person and you listen to them, both parties are refining who they are in the moment and who they are to each other. It is how we measure the worth of our own viewpoints, by carefully stacking theirs up against yours and forming a new and hopefully improved perspective with all the new data you've acquired as a result of the discussion. It is all too easy and far too common for people to enter into discussions looking only to override the other person and impose their views upon them. This never works out, especially if you have that discussion with somebody who has at least half a brain. The goal of any reasonable debate is to take what you need from it. This is not the same as taking what you want. What you want is validation of your ideas, but casual congratulations and backslapping do not truly validate your idea. I'll tell you what does though. A healthy discussion or debate in which your idea is taken apart and put back together. When you enter into a debate to learn something from the other person and from the act of discussion itself, your idea grows and evolves. That process is what validates your idea. It does so by testing how robust and practical an idea it is. Have you ever truly listened to a person? What about in reverse? Do you feel like you've ever been truly listened to? Listening is something that people talk about a lot, which is ironic, really. The real irony is that most of those that talk about listening endlessly waffle on about the value of listening. They do very little of it. Most of them are really just trying to tell you to listen to them specifically. When you listen to a person, you can hear what they are saying, but you also hear what they're not saying. It is often the things that are left unsaid that speak the loudest. Properly listening to a person is the most compassionate thing you could ever do for them. Many people in this world feel disillusioned with their lot in life, and for many of them it's because they've never been truly listened to. People are interesting, they're nuanced, and they are full of thoughts and feelings that would be otherwise impossible to detect if you didn't really listen to them. When you listen to a person, you are validating them. You encourage them to think and speak freely and to express themselves in the most revealing of ways. Listening is more than just a tool. Listening is at the very core of what makes us human. Listening to others helps us to manage and understand our own perspectives. It shows us what is possible, whether that be good or bad. Do you lie? Before you say no, let me stop you. The only correct answer to this question is yes, you do lie. Everybody lies. It is impossible for a person to live their life without telling lies in some capacity. Lies aren't necessarily a bad thing, at least the intent behind it isn't. If you were truly honest 100% of the time, then you would struggle to create and maintain healthy relationships with the people in your world. Most of these lies come not in the form of an outright lie, but as an omission of information that is, in the moment, considered unnecessary or potentially harmful to the other person. With that being said, when we have proper conversations with people, we must always endeavour to tell the truth. It may seem like a cliche to say it, but it really is. The reality is, if the other person catches you in a lie, it makes them question their entire perspective of you. Not only that, but when you tell lies, it prevents open discourse. A proper conversation needs to have an honest back and forth. Otherwise, all parties are just wasting each other's time. Choose your words carefully, but make sure you choose words that you truly mean. Speaking openly and honestly with a person shows them the colour of your integrity. It widens their perspective of you and lets them know that you play by the rules that you set by your code of ethics. Integrity matters. Integrity of action begins with honesty of thought, and speech is an extension of thought. To have an open and honest conversation with someone is an intimate affair, one that needs to be handled carefully, but that intimacy makes it possible for both parties to learn from the discussion and modify their worldview. To lie in that situation is dangerous and irresponsible because both you and the other person will end up modifying your worldview based upon a lie. When that gets found out, it invalidates any good that could have potentially come from that discussion. Or even worse still, the lie doesn't get found out, and now that person is wading through life with deliberate misinformation which can lead them towards poor decision making. If you have a topic that you want to discuss, do you really want to discuss it, or do you want to give a speech? People don't like to be lectured, especially when they didn't invite it. So when you enter into a discussion, you must ensure that the proper discussion is what you want from it. If you just want to give a speech, then record yourself and put it online, a bit like I'm doing right now. There is little point in wrangling up another person to talk at, especially under the false pretense of wanting discussion. Your idea should lead to something that could be another idea, a plan to execute, or any number of other things. Everything has a purpose. That includes every thought, feeling, and idea that you have. If you limit the input by not having proper discussions with people to debate and refine the idea, then the potential outcome of said idea becomes restricted. If you tell yourself that you should ignore other people and brand them as haters, what does that say about your feelings towards your idea? I would suggest that it says you aren't very confident in your idea, and you are worried about engaging with other people. You're worried that engaging with other people will make your idea fold. How will that impact the potential outcome? It would seem to me that you already know that the idea lacks validity in some form and will therefore be unsuccessful. There's a simple remedy to this though. In fact, it is the most simple it could possibly be. You stop with the pretense that you are all-knowing and recognise that you don't have haters around you. Instead, you are surrounded by people willing to discuss your idea and in turn strengthen your idea as it evolves. Evolution happens. You cannot fight it. You can, however, inadvertently steer that evolution to a destination you probably won't like. Your ideas are formed in your thoughts. That is where the seed is planted. But the magic happens when you begin to articulate that idea. Blocking out the haters is just a way of shielding yourself from that perceived ridicule. The ridicule that in the real world is unlikely to ever actually come. In your efforts to block out everybody with opposing ideas, you are sheltering yourself from the very thing that will enable your idea to evolve into something extraordinary. When you block out the voices you don't want to hear, all that remains is an echo chamber, which, I'm sure I've mentioned before, is a dangerous place for a human to exist. Your haters, as you call them, care enough about you or your idea to contribute their own thoughts, feelings and opinions. They are providing you with the materials to build your idea out into something useful. But that doesn't mean that you have to use them all. It just means you have to consider the possibility that an external perspective could help you see that idea more objectively. Stop telling yourself you have haters. You don't. You have access to people, thoughts and ideas that you can possibly produce yourself. There is no downside to just listening, but there's also no downside, none at all, to having proper discourse with people, having proper conversations with people. But there is a downside, in fact there's no upside at all, to blocking people out and branding them as haters.